brave, a fighter, an inspiration, blessed. They're all words we use to describe cancer patients and survivors. I know I've been called that many times, even more so when I started writing and sharing my experience with others who had cancer as well. But it's gotten to a point where we expect patients to be that way. I know I was misled by that expectation. When I got out of hospital after my bone marrow transplant, I expected to be studying, playing basketball back to the old me, maybe in a year or so after a bit of follow-up and hard work. But I didn't expect to be stuck in hospital with infections, getting biopsies, getting procedures to fix what chemo broke. I didn't know I'd still be on medication. I'm still on it, 3 years after my treatment had stopped. I don't think any of us could have foreseen that utter dread we feel every time we see a hospital or get a checkup for signs of relapse. We don't all feel brave, blessed, or lucky to have had cancer. Not all the time. And yet that's all we see and hear about on the news. We hear these exceptionally amazing stories of survivors running marathons, or of those who've managed to see life in a whole new light afterwards. And it's great that they do, but that's all we see. So the rest of us cancer patients, we expect, and we're expected to be that way. But when we don't, it's nearly impossible to feel that all the time. We either put on this facade, and we pretend, and we fool others, and ultimately ourselves, into feeling we're fine, or else we internalize it. We call ourselves ungrateful, weak. We detest ourselves for struggling to cope. You know what? I think it's ridiculous that I have to say this, but it's totally fine to feel bad about the worst thing that's ever happened to you. It's normal. No, you're not ungrateful. No, you're not a coward, and no, you're not alone either. Because cancer sucks for all of us. If you feel that way, you're not weak. It's actually pretty strong for you to admit that. And I'm going to tell you why it's actually the best thing you can do for yourself. Because not only does admitting that it sucks make you more likely to ask for help when you need it, it also prepares you. And it leaves you only one way to go up from there. Up. See, when I was told I had leukemia and that I had a 10, maybe 20% chance of surviving, I was devastated. As I'm sure a lot of you or your loved ones would have been when you were told this news. But after a few days of that constant anger, the depression, me cursing myself, my life for what had happened, I took a step back and I looked at what had happened to me as if it had happened to someone else. But when I did that, I took all those emotions out of it. And it made me realize that, you know what? I have cancer now. No matter how much I wanted to, I couldn't go back in time and change that. All that pain, all that anger, the frustration, that was all coming from me, my brain. I mean, no one could come into my head and force me to feel those things, right? So why was I doing it? What was it accomplishing? When I asked myself why, I couldn't find an answer, because that's all it was doing, nothing. It was only making me feel worse. And so taking that step back and asking why made me realize that going forward, the only logical thing to do was focus on the things I could control. And that was being happy and as healthy as possible, rather than all those things I couldn't. So I was pumped. I was positive. Chemo, bring it on. But then this nurse came up to me and told me this. The next few weeks are going to be the worst of your life. You'll be vomiting, in pain, going to the bathroom 20 times a day, getting fevers, getting sick. You're going to hate this. Motivational stuff, right? Just exactly what you want to hear a few days before you start. But despite that, the shock that I got from that, it made me admit to myself that yes, this would be hard. it would take time, pain, and effort for me to get there. But that didn't dismay me or send me into despair. It actually prepared me. Because now I knew that when the meds took effect, when things got rough, that I wouldn't break down and give up, because I knew what was coming. Instead of focusing on the fact that I was suffering, I focused on the idea that they wouldn't be putting me through all this stuff if it wasn't for a good reason, if they didn't think I could make it. So yeah, chemo does bring pain and misery to a lot of patients, to a lot of you out there, or your friends and family. But isn't it also a medicine? The very thing that could get you better? So it was when I acknowledged that times can get tough, that I made myself able, and indeed willing to see that second, more constructive way of looking at things. And that's helped me not just get through my treatments, but get through it all. So guys, for all you patients, the survivors out there flying white tonight, or for all of you who know others who are going through tough times, doesn't matter if it's cancer or depression or failures of some sort, let me tell you, it's totally fine to feel life is hard sometimes. You're not ungrateful or weak for thinking that. You're actually brave and stronger for admitting it. For those flying blue, our carers, doctors, nurses, and supporters, thank you for everything you do. You're the only reason I'm alive today. And I hope you could share this message with those of you who you know who are going through tough times and not taking it well, as some of us and many of us are. And for those of you flying gold, for loved ones you've lost, I know it's hard. I've lost someone really close to this disease myself. He was one of many patients I've met through my blog that I write. And I'd gotten really close to him and his family. I'd laughed with him, I cried with him, I stood by him throughout his treatment. And then just as he was about to get out of hospital, just as he was looking healthy, fine, and looking forward to life, he passed away. That was days after getting out. I was devastated. I mean, how could someone so young, so innocent, so caring, so needed by his family, suffer and be taken away the way he was? I mourned. But soon that mourning turned into clinical depression. It was only after I talked to someone that I was able to take a step back and ask what he'd have wanted me to do. That's when I realized that when we lose loved ones, we should remember what they would have wanted. And that is for us to be happy. And in truth, we haven't lost them. They still live on through us, through how they've changed us and what we've learned from them. I know this can't take away your losses, but I hope it helps you see that they would have wanted you to be happy. And speaking about talking to someone, the Leukemia Foundation, alongside the amazing research they do, also offers amazing support groups and services to keep patients and their carers and everyone around them happy and healthy. And you can always talk to me or read about all this and all my experiences through cancer on my blog, which I write. You can find that by Googling Musings of a Med Student Patient. Musings as in M-U-S-I-N-G-S, med student, because I'm a med student now. Hopefully I'll cure this thing in a few years. And I'll be sure to share a copy of the speech and a lot of the other stuff that's going on tonight on that page. So if some of you have family or friends who couldn't make it tonight, be sure to share that with them as well. I'm sure the Leukemia Foundation will too. So I hope everything I've said helps you guys tonight. And remember, I'm always happy to talk. So thanks, guys.